I guess we can get this show on the road. I guess I'm the show tonight. But yeah, welcome back, church. It's good to have you guys back tonight. I want to talk about something that my boys love to do tonight. Something that they begged me to do a lot, and that's fishing. I'm thinking about fishing. We got to thinking about fishing because we were at the beach. We're like, wonder if we can catch a stingray. Wonder if we can get one of them sharks to bite on our hook. But that's something that I'm gonna need a little. You guys help me out a little bit tonight. But who's the best fisherman in your life? If you think about fishing, who do you think of in your life? I think about my grandpa. That dude loved fishing. It's one of the best things I ever did with that man. Went fishing. I grew a lot with him during it. Who else do you think about? Who's the best fisherman in the world right now?
My dad is the best for me.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's awesome.
Man,
Yeah.
read a little joke, good, long while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Old fella, living out in the country. Once in a while, he go to church on Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
and the parking lot was out front, and everybody pointing towards the road with their car.
Yeah.
He said, he had a sign on the front of his truck that said, "I'd rather be fishing."
Yep. I was reading through my Bible, just thinking, sitting by the ocean, or I guess I was sitting on the porch the screening porch we got out of our beach cottage, looking at the sound there. I was like, fishing. What's that got to do with the Bible? And I thought about it. Thought about who the best fishermen in the Bible are. We got 4 of them. We got Peter, Andrew, James, and John. And I thought about the call of God that God put on their lives. And their interaction that shows up. And I want to start off in Matthew 4, where God intersects their lives. And I'm going to start reading in verse 18. And it says, "As he was walking along the Sea of Galilee, he saw 2 brothers, Simon, who was also called Peter, and his brother Andrew. They were casting a net into the sea, since they were fishermen. 'Follow me,' he told them, 'and I'll make you fish for people.' Immediately they left their nets and followed him. Going on from there, he saw 2 other brothers, James, the son of Zebedee, and his brother John. They were in a boat with Zebedee their father, mending their nets, and he called them. Immediately they left their boat and their father and followed him." And so I kind of thought about this. Just a little background on this. This isn't the first time that Simon, or Peter, Andrew, James, and John have heard about Jesus. This is the setting of the story. This is right after John the Baptist had been arrested and taken into custody for telling about the fact that Jesus was the Messiah. So there's this stigma about Jesus, that he was an outcast. He was the guy that went against the religious popular people. I don't know if I said that right, but he went against the mainstream people that said they were following God. And for Jesus to walk up to them just out of the blue and say, "Follow me, and I will make you fish for people." And it didn't say that they went off and they prayed about it, they thought about it, they consulted their friends. They didn't make a phone call or whatever they did back in the day. They didn't write a papyrus and send it off saying, should I follow God? No, it says immediately they left their nets and followed him. They left their comfort. They left what they knew as their life. It's crazy because Peter and Andrew, they weren't the elite. They weren't the best in the first century. They were dirty fishermen. They were dudes out there just on a boat making a living, blue collar guys. They weren't the white collar guys up in the palace. They could have got God anywhere. They could have got Jesus to become a superstar. They could have turned Jesus into something awesome. But God went for those people, the salt of the earth, those people that were second-class citizens, really. And God said, "Follow me, and I will build my church with you." And even James and John, they're out fishing they're out there on a boat with their dad, just doing the family business, doing what they know is right, mending the nets, because that's just what they had to do to make a living. They couldn't go out and buy a new net when their net ripped. They had to fix it. And Jesus called out to them, and immediately they left the boat and their father and followed him. When I think about that, I'm like, man, that would have been hard. Just get up, leave everything that you're comfortable with, and say, "Okay, God, whatever, let's do this." But they did. And it doesn't say that after this, Jesus raised them up into these perfect followers of him. Because if you continue to read the story, Peter's the one that has to put his foot in his mouth a lot. He's the one that's always asking God, "Come on, God, when are we going to be popular? When am I going to look good?" Or whatever. No, the disciple, God's like, "No, I called you to change the world, not in the way that the world tells you to change it, but the way I tell you to change it. And I will make you fish for people." It's an interesting statement that God called them in a way that was specific to them. He didn't say, "And I will make you a king over people. I will make you a priest in the temple." He says, "I will make you fish for people." So God called them in a way that was specific to them. Much like he calls us, like I said this morning, in a specific way for our lives. He uses our experiences and the things that happen to our life to change the world if we allow him to, through us. It's wild to think that God would take these people that people saw as second-class citizens and say, "No, you're going to be the ones that will be the people that create a revolution in this world, that will take the gospel from Galilee to outer parts of Asia, all the way to Egypt, and all the way to the U.S. It's because God called Peter, Andrew, James, and John to carry the gospel message, and that they are faithful to that. That's the reason we have it. And because God called them and equipped them to do it. That's crazy that God entrusts this beautiful message of hope and forgiveness to people that mess it up, to broken people, but it's awesome at the same time. Because we can go to people that think that all Christians are just stuck up and we don't really care about them. We can say, "Yeah, I'm messed up too. But I got God that makes it so I don't want to be messed up anymore. I got God that says, I love you in spite of your mess ups, in spite of where you be, how you've been." And he will allow us to set those, to be fishers for men, to put us in situations where we don't know what to say. We don't even know what to ask God for. But God says, I don't know, somewhere in Romans it says, God said, or Paul said, oh man, I'm going all over. But Paul says that even when we know not what to say, the Spirit intercedes for us. With groanings, when we can't even ask God for what we need. The Spirit intercedes for us and tells God exactly what we need. Because God knows exactly what we need to create a revolution in this world. To give that revival up. To start that revival we all pray for. It's us waking up every day and saying, okay, God. God wakes us up every day and says, follow me. And it's our job to say, all right. Am I going to waver on it today? Am I going to look back on the day and be like, man, wish I would have followed God quicker today. Wish I would have immediately done it. Wish I would just given over my cares to God. Because God talks about those things that easily entangle us, that cause us to not be able to do what He's called us to do. And it's how quickly are we going to say, okay, I'm going to follow you, God. You know how to do it. You got it under control. I think, just looking at Zebedee, he has his two boys right there with him working, doing the things that they know how to do. And this guy comes along and says, follow me. And they immediately leave him. I can't even imagine how it would feel. But they showed their commitment to what they believed was right. We're going to have times in our lives where, at least for me personally, where I've had to say, okay, God, this is going to hurt. I'm going to follow you. You know? Yeah. Even with the boys I work with, they had to make that decision. They had to say, okay, I know what I'm doing is not right, and I want to make a change in my life. And I said, okay, I'm going to leave my family. I'm gonna go live in the woods, away from my family for a season, for the sake of helping my family out in the long run. So, yep, for the sake of the gospel. But anyway, but what is God calling you to immediately leave behind? What are those things? I can't answer this for you. What are the things that are holding you back from immediately leaving what you think is more important than God? I have to do that every day. I have to wake up every day and say, okay, I don't do it every day. I have to decide that I'm going to love those boys no matter what. No matter what they do to me, no matter what they say to me. I'm going to love them. I'm going to treat them right. And we all have those people in our lives that don't treat us right, that just don't do us right. But we have to immediately say, okay, I'm going to still love them. I'm going to follow Christ in this and do what God has called me to do. Let me see if there's it's crazy to think that they immediately did it. And that's awesome. Because when we give our lives over to Christ, He immediately changes us. It's not over time. It's like we're immediately saved. We're immediately set free from the bondage of sin. God doesn't say, do these 12 steps and you're saved. He says, immediately I will save you if you give your life to me. So how much more should we be willing to say, okay, God, you called me to do this, I'm going to do this. The thing I want to brag on Paul, he's not in here, on Paul Christopher. That dude, that's something I love about the guy. He does it immediately. When God says, you need to do this, he does it. He doesn't, this whole on point for God. Like, 1 week he was talking about it, the next week we're doing it. I was like, what the heck? How'd that happen? But he encourages me, he challenges me to do it immediately. Because so often we allow the things of this world to distract us when God calls us to do something. Whether it be big or small, whether it be making a phone call to someone that needs to hear from us, or just giving a kind word, writing a note to somebody, or if it be, for me, moving away from your family, doing what God's called you to do. God, there needs to be that immediate response to God. Because if we waver, hate to say it, but it's less likely. It may not happen, or it's going to happen, and we're like, man, wish I would have made that decision quicker. It was a lot better than what I thought I needed. It was a lot better than what I thought I needed to invest my time in. God wants to raise up a Yep. And God's like, come on, I've been waiting for you. Where you been at? That's the great thing about God. He's still waiting for us, even if we're taking forever to get there. He's like, come on, come do this with me. And our job is to say, okay, God, I'll do it. Whether it's something that we think is going to be easier or we think we aren't able to do. You know, what I've been told my whole life is that God doesn't call the qualified, he equips the unqualified. I don't know if I didn't say it right, but I hope you understand what I'm saying. God doesn't call us to trust him in things that we can just do on our own. He calls us to do things that are hard, that are rough, and that we need God's help for. That's how God gets the glory. You know? I could have stayed at my job back home and just said, okay, God, I'm going to live the Christian life, but I'm going to live in my box. But only because of God's grace do I say, all right, God, I'm going to go out the box, and I don't know what's going to happen. I'll go live in the woods and love on some boys. Love on what I call the most courageous boys I've ever met. Because they're doing stuff that this world doesn't do. This world doesn't stop and say, I want to change something. I'm going to fight for it. They say, I'm going to blame other people for my problems. I'm not going to do the work that I need to fix it. I'm going to blame someone else and let them take all the blame for the way I'm acting or the situation I'm in. No, they stand up and say, yeah, I got some issues, but I'm going to work on them. I'm going to be a man that stands up and fights for his life and his family. We need more people like that in this world. So I just get to be there and see God work. It's the best thing ever. I hope that God's opening up those doors for you to see him working in your life on a daily basis. Sometimes we just got to slow down and look for it. Because so often God does things in our lives and we're like, yeah, God's going to do that. He's always done that. But we got to remember and thank God those times where he immediately answers our prayers, or he gives us an answer we never thought he would give. And it's like, dang, you're awesome, God. But so what is that thing that God is calling you to make that choice for, even tonight? What is that thing where you've been wavering and you're like, I don't know if I can do this, God. You know, you've asked me to do this, but can I really? And we're letting that doubt kind of creep into our life. When you got to stand up and say, no, I'm not going to let the doubt that the devil puts in my life shut me down. Like I've always said, the devil's a punk. He doesn't have any power over us if we're saved. He thinks he does. He has this delusion that he's going to win, but we know who wins. You know? So why don't we just take some risks for God? Say, okay, God, last time I talked to this person, they yelled and cussed at me because I was a Christian, but I'm going to stand up and do it anyway because I know you want me to. So be it. They make fun of me. So be it if, they don't want to talk to me again. I'm going to be faithful to what you called me to do. So be a risk taker for God. Because he won't do you wrong. I found that out in my life. When God asks you to do something, you do it. It's always better than if you didn't.
His word will not return void.
That's right. So all we got to do is put that hook on that fishing pole and throw it out there. See what God gives us back. So have Reed come up here, lead us in our song invitation. Yeah, you got something?
Share something on about fishing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the thing about it is, the niche in the net represents us. The dirty nets will scare the fish.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing, broken net means lost fish. So we have to mend the net. Personal application.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So we make sure we're checking ourselves too. Make sure we're getting on our knees and asking God to help us catch them fish. He's got people in our lives to change. So.
Amazing how they just quit what they were doing and went with Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Follow me.
Yeah.
They look back, didn't take time to.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they did it.
Them boats for somebody else.
Yep, they're like, I don't need that boat no more.
Yeah.
It's like, we don't need the old life no more. Someone else can have it. I don't want it no more. So.
Let's all stand, take a hymn book, and turn to page 300.
Without him
as you go out this week, God will show you this area in your life where He's asking you to do something and you're kind of holding back. You're kind of saying, let me think about it, God. Let me see if